Tirza, thank you very much. And we watched alongside our political analyst, Adriana Sigala, a government professor at El Paso Community College. Adriana, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, okay, the debate ended just a few moments ago, and I know you have a lot of thoughts on the debate, but I know that you have an underlying message, and that is fact-checking. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, of course. I mean, both candidates brought up and quoted different people, different numbers, and sometimes they were quoting the same people and just saying completely different things. And you know, as a professor, I was telling my students, you know, you have to do your fact checks. What was actually the truth? What was, you know, and I know Vice President Harris talked about, you know, being truthful, but I think you have to fact check her as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a struggle for many voters, right? Is deciphering what's true, what isn't true. I will say this, we did actually see some live fact checking during this debate as opposed to the one back in June between President Trump and the current president, Joe Biden. I guess give us some key moments from the debate that really stood out to you.
In terms of the fact checking?
No, just in terms of just overall, were there key moments that stood out to you that maybe will stand in the minds of voters as they go to the polls in November?
Well, one of the comments that I liked from Vice President Harris, one was she talked about there's more than unite us and sets us apart. And I like that because as a professor, when I give assignments to my students, I have certain assignments that I've developed that when they do the assignments, it's kind of teaching them about their own beliefs and where they stand in the political spectrum, because you have to remember it is a spectrum. And sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the times they're surprised at some issues they kind of selected the one on the right, some other issues the one on the left, and they surprise themselves. And this is where I want to come in and says, yes, we all have different views, but we all have a lot of stuff that unites us. Like, we're not as separated as we are led to believe with polarization.
And I think we actually have that moment that we'd like to hear from. Let's take a listen.
You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us.
Thought?
Well, because she also said it in her closing statement.
She did. She really did. And I know that you were also talking about Trump. What did you like about him?
Well, you know, he does have a lot of things that he that he claims. But I did, you know, one of the things that he did say, which I found it to be very kind of honest, was when he talked about Obamacare and how he wasn't going to replace it unless he found something better, which I think it's a little change of the tone that he's used before. So I thought that was something positive, you know, kind of like a growth on his part.
Yeah, let's hear what the former president had to say about that.
We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money, but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump.
Now, I know that we want to get through a lot of topics, but one of the topics that was discussed was reproductive rights, abortion, and there was something that you had told me that I found very interesting, an observation you made. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think overall, over the years, actually, Republicans have done a very good job at being that you're either pro-life or you're pro-abortion. And I think Democrats have not done as good of a job of making sure that the pro-choice doesn't always equal pro-abortion. The pro-choice is the choice for the woman. And I think, especially in our community, there's a lot of women who want to have the choice, but they would in fact choose life.
Oh, that's very interesting.
I think in the debates, we kind of lose that differentiation between the pro-life and pro-choice.
Very good observation. Thank you.
Border security, immigration, of course, it's right in our own backyard. It's an important issue not only for El Pasoans, people living in the borderland, but also people across the country. Here's what both candidates had to say about border security.
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country.
They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country.
Who, in your opinion, I guess, handled this topic the best? I know the Vice President also brought up the immigration bill that, of course, was killed. Who handled this, I guess, best?
Well, I guess I was really looking forward to his answer when the moderator did ask him about why he kind of killed the bill, essentially, that a lot of both Republicans and Democrats supported could have really helped our border security. But instead, he kind of started talking about his rallies and kind of went off topic, so he kind of gave up his time and really never addressed that particular bill. So I think in this case, it was kind of, you know, she came back and said how he wants to, he doesn't want solutions, he just wants to run on problems. So I thought I was kind of looking forward to see what he would say about that particular bill.
All right, thank you so much for that. It's been very, very insightful.